done been down before. I had to get up and get it together. Knew one day it would be better. No, I can't struggle forever. Plenty days I was in the past, man. I can't throw no stones up at a glass house. Yeah, from the bottom to the top, baby. Yeah, I can never stop, baby. Oh, they don't like me, oh, that cool. Tell them stop, hey. From the bottom to the top, baby. Bottom to the top, baby. Oh, they don't like me, oh, that cool. Tell them stop. I show you what hustle is. Yeah, make it to places you never did. Yeah, diamonds come from pressure. I've been shining since. Oh, I had to pick up the pieces. I couldn't settle with decent. I'm bringing sand to the beaches. I went through hell for a reason.
You are tuning in to From the Bottom to the Top with your girl, Princess with the Real. And I got a special guest in the building today, and I'm finna get all up in through his business. I don't know why I keep messing up. It's probably these blissfully drunk cocktails that keep getting me lit. But I'm finna get to it. I don't like to do no small talk, so we finna jump right into it. I got Dave in the building with me, and I just want to start from your childhood. You know, tell me what you remember as far back as you remember as a child.
You nosy than a motherfucker. You know that.
I know.
So this is my second time coming to this motherfucker. So that makes
but it's okay. It's okay. It's all love. It's all love.
I needed to get out the house, so I didn't mind, and especially if I'm going to be with you. Well, I started off in Cleveland, Ohio, Lee Harvard, East Side, Southeast Side. I grew up in a relatively domestically abusive home. My father was very abusive to my mom, and he used to whoop me all the time for no reason, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
But what made him like that?
That's good you asked that. So when I was 37 years old, somewhere around there, or later than that, my aunt passed away, and then my uncle passed away, and they were like 94 and 95, like back to back. They had been married for 23 years. I say if you want to find out who you are, go and ask some of your elders if they're still alive. Go ask them. Go ask these questions. Well, she began to tell me, we were at the house going through pictures and stuff. She said, well, you know, I'm not really Uncle John's daughter. I was like, what? Yeah, she said, well, you know, me and him went through a little thing, and she got pregnant by somebody else, but they stayed together, and he raised me as his own. They were married. They would have been married 72 years the year she passed away. And I'm like, what the what? Then she said, yeah, well, you know, your grandmother, she used to follow behind Aunt Minnie because Aunt Minnie was the oldest. And she said, well, you know, Granny Smith, your grandmother did the same thing. So, you know, your aunt, she ain't really your grandfather's either. I'm like, Then she said, well, you know, that's probably why your father the way he is, because your grandfather used to beat on her and beat on all the kids until one day that the guy that was the father of your aunt came over and said, you can do whatever you can do with them, but that one, that's mine. You're going to leave that one alone. So I ended up forgiving them because, you know, a lot of times forgiving is not for them, it's for you. And, you know.
But how long did you go through that or watch, you know, him hitting on her before you, like,
I couldn't remember when I was a kid. I was 5 years old. You know, Eddie Murphy had this thing with the, I hate him, kill him, Lord, please. I was that kid with the afro and the thick-ass glasses at 5 years old, wishing that he was dead.
But you never tried to jump in or nothing like that because you felt like that wasn't my place.
I was scared. I would be sitting there reading the paper like shaking. I was scared. You know, his favorite word was bitch. And that's probably why I really don't use that word too much today. I will say it. I call my boys bitches, but I really don't. I've never really referenced that word. Like, I've never called my wife a bitch to anybody or to her face. I've used the word before. It doesn't really make me feel good to use it towards women just because of that. And also because of that, he scared me out of being violent because he was, man, as a kid, that shit was crazy. Just watching that. I you know, when I look at these movies and pictures and stuff and you see stuff like that, I hate watching, you know, rape, molestation, you know, the abuse towards women. I hate watching that stuff. So
now having to deal with that and growing up dealing with that, going to school, you know, knowing what was going on in the household, how did that affect you?
Man, I guess it just caused me to focus more on my studies because I was like a fat Steve Urkel, a little chunky Steve Urkel growing up. I was into my books, man. I was always A's and B's, well, E's and S's in elementary school and A's and B's and, you know, junior high and high school, stuff like that. And I think what kept me from being like that was they was like, you're going to grow up, you're going to be just like Johnny. You're going to be just like Johnny. You're going to be just like Johnny. I hated that because I hated that dude for forever until I found out why he was the way he was way he was. And it's, and I couldn't understand it. How could you put such a man on such a high pedestal, meaning my grandfather, when you're sitting there every day, watch him beat your mother? How do you put somebody like that on a pedestal? Well, in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, blacks had their freedom. Well, he loves me. That he takes care of us, and he'll get better. He'll change. It's the purpose of the job with the white man. And nah, they start burning bras and cutting off dicks, and it was a different story, And women start fighting back. All my aunts, they all know how to scrap too. They don't take no mess. So I had to forgive him, because if I didn't forgive him, it would have killed me instead of killing him. I tell people in my walk when I do motivational speaking or speak publicly, or people ask me about my stuff, my story in interviews, I say forgiving someone is not for them, but it's for you. So my advice, if you have been molested, raped, beat, whatever it may be, that's the first step to healing, is forgiving. Because if you don't, you're going to carry that. Like every time I used to see that man, it brought rape. I tried to kill him like 3 times. And one time I had a gun in my hand. You think I was at the prime of my career, top of the charts, rolling around with a gun because something had happened somewhere and I didn't roll with security and different stuff like that. And I had a gun. I had the gun like I was Sam, what's his name, in Menace to Society. And he was looking at me like, I don't care, do it. He was looking at me like, I don't give a fuck, just do it. And all of a sudden, my sister bust in and fell to her knees and screamed. I guess she must have heard us, yelling and screaming outside. And she fell to her knees like she was sliding in the home plate in a baseball game and screamed. And the gun dropped out my hand. I don't know if somebody knocked it out my hand or knocked out, but or it just fell. But, thank God it did, because if I would have shot him,
things would have been
definitely
different.
Murder won.
Yeah.
Murder was the case that they gave me.
As I look up in the sky.
Let me take a drink too. I
So,
already feel it.
from childhood, elementary, middle school, high school, did you go through anything? I know you said you were good with your grades. You was dealing with stuff at home. Is there any other events in your life that were traumatic for you that you still kind of carry with you, or that you can never forget?
My hero. Like, there's a lot of things I don't remember about my childhood. My hero at 6 going on 7, my grandfather was the one who saved me from him. He was like, bring him over here with us. When my mom and my dad, they moved out the house and got their own crib. They said, let him come here and go to school over here. And that saved me from being around out there. Because, as a parent, a father or a big brother or uncle, whatever it is, you want to save your daughter, your niece, your cousin, your sister, whatever it is. But a lot of times when they fall into these abusive relationships, they keep going back.
Yeah. I
got a cousin that blamed me now for her man problems because I didn't beat this dude up a long time ago. So you blaming me for your man problems? I said, bitch, you need, that's one time I did use the word bitch. I was like, bitch, you need counseling. You need to talk to your mom and your daddy about your man problems. I don't have nothing to do with that. You always coming around trying to put your friends off on us. They wasn't nothing. I said, you was looking at them like that because they wasn't street boys. They wasn't dollar spenders. They wasn't tricking on you. Now look at you. I was trying to hook you up with good dudes.
She wanted that street one.
I was the most promiscuous dude in my clique, besides my partner, my singing partner. I had the most mileage on my joint of all of them. And some of them was better shaped and better looked than me, but they didn't have the mileage on me on them that I did. Then, like I say, after that, I really didn't have, both of my great-grandmothers passed away, but during that age, you're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, you're not really thinking about that. But my first major tragedy, where I really understood what was going on, was when my mom passed away. Shit, this year it'll be 31 years that she's been gone.
Now, how old were you when she passed away?
I had just turned 20.
Oh, wow.
And the last time I saw her was on my birthday, which was the 30th of July. And we kind of had like a lightweight argument because I was telling her she needed to go to the doctor. And she was like, shut the fuck up, shut up. They don't want you to tell them nothing. And 3 days later, she was gone.
Oh,
I heard her.
wow.
I heard her that morning.
Did you get a chance to talk to her after that lightweight argument?
Nah.
Before that happened?
Mm-mm.
So how did that affect you, knowing that y'all had a lightweight argument about you trying to get her to go to the hospital and then finding out that she passed?
The crazy part about it is I went to sleep and I dreamed about it. I dreamed that she passed away. And I woke up out of my sleep. It felt like somebody slapped the mess out of me. I woke up and I was like, and the phone rang. It was the lady that rode to work with her every morning. She said, "You need to get to the hospital. Whatever hospital your mom, she passed out at the wheel." I ain't really thinking nothing of it. So I get there. As soon as I walk in the room, the doctor walk in there. All my peoples is there. I don't know. I don't even remember how they got there, but they all were there. And when I walked in, he said when she got here, her heart was just beating really fast and like palpitations. And we tried to revive her, and that's all I heard. And I ran down it's a street called Broadway, and all I remember is her being laying there cold on the slab. Her body exposed with a little sheet covering up her breast and stuff like that. And that's it.
How did that affect you walking into there and seeing her like that?
It messed me up. It did. It messed me up, man. I never forget that. And then, it's crazy because we had just signed our contracts with Gerald Levert, for those that don't know. And we were getting ready to start recording. And then, like, a couple months later, she passes away. I'm like, what part of the game is this? You know what I'm talking about? So it tore me up. Our biggest record is a record called So Alone. And it was a song that Gerald Levert wrote for me to sing to my mom. And it's like, for a long time, the only thing I thought about when I sang that record was just her laying there on the slab. But everybody, man, that song, man, it did so much for me. Or they'd be like, man, you don't even know, man, I got so much ass off that record. And I'd be like, that was about my mom. They'd be like, oh, my fault.
Oh, wow.
Like, dude, I'm good, man.
So he wrote that song for your mom before she passed away?
No. He wrote that afterwards because the crazy thing is him and my mom were friends. That's the crazy part. My mom worked for the government for 19 years before she passed away, Navy Federal Retired Pay Department. And she also worked part-time at this record store called Fillmore East in Cleveland. And Gerald, back then, all the artists had to come to all the major mom-and-pop, black-owned record distributors, record stores where you used to buy the albums, the tapes, then the CDs. And all the performers had to come in there. Like Luther Vandross had been in there, Sherelle, of course, Gerald, because he lived down the street at the time, New Edition, everybody who's in Curtis Blow, anybody, LL Cool J, anybody had come into that store. And being an entertainer during that time, you had to go to all the mom and pop stores because they pushed your product. They pushed your product. And if they were a major distributor in the area and they didn't push your product, you didn't chart. You didn't make it. So every city, 2, 3, 4 black mom and pops, and sometimes they tripped over if you went to another one first before you came there.
So because of his friendship with her, he wrote that song because of the friendship he had with her?
I'm pretty sure he did, because him and my mom were really cool, and that's how I met him up there. And, my mom had died. Jason's dad had died 9 months later. Gerald's grandfather had just died. Our role manager's father had just died. One of the members of the other groups was strung out on crack, and they was getting him out the crack house.
I'm going to stop you right there, because I feel like things is getting deep. It's a lot of stuff going on. As you see, it's a lot of deaths. I want to get into, the emotions of how this affected him in his life, going through all these traumatic events. So y'all go get you some water, go use the bathroom, do whatever you need to do, and come right back, because we'll be right back to Front to Bottom to the Top with your girl, Princess with the Real. You are back to Front to Bottom to the Top with your girl, Princess with the Real. And I'm still sitting here with Dave getting all up in his business. Right before we went to commercial, he talked about a lot of deaths taking place. And I want to jump right back on into it. So talk to me about your feelings and transitions through everything that was going on in the family and in life with people passing away. Like, I know that affected you.
Yeah, that was 1990. 1990 was a year for me that started off with a bang, man. The first day of the year. My grandmother was telling me, don't wait to go see him. They in the hospital, they in the nursing home. Go see him. My next door neighbor, he was like another grandfather to me after my actual grandfather passed away. I just turned first day of the year of 1990. Next door neighbor, like a grandfather to me, he passes away from cancer. I'm there when he takes his last breath. Around Mother's Day, my great grandmother passes away. Then a close friend of mine, he was a younger dude that I kind of mentored a little bit. He passed away from sickle cell. Then my mom, and I'm like, damn, Thunny. But I wasn't really paying attention to it though, because I was 19 going on 20, and 20, like at 20 years old, you don't think about death, you think you're gonna live forever. I didn't really start paying attention to death until Biggie and Pac got shot. That's crazy because I was supposed to be at that party that day, the Soul Train party that Biggie was at. I was supposed to be there. I don't remember if I was supposed to go to Vegas, but I know for a fact, everybody said, you coming to LA, you coming to LA, you coming to LA, you coming to LA? And I waited up to the last minute and I did not go to LA. I think because I was still doing radio. And my uncle, who I call my dad, was like, nah, if it ain't for you going on the road, you ain't taking off. And so I was like, well, can't go, buddy.
Oh, wow. And now was all of that after your mom passing?
The same year.
The same year.
No, but the Pac and Biggie joint was like 3 years later. I was 23 years old, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, yo. Like, I think everybody has that whoa moment where they start to take life serious and like start to look at things a little different. And that was it for me. I think they got murdered like a year apart. Mm-hmm. And when Biggie got murdered, I was like, damn. I was supposed to be there. And at that time, I started thinking like, wow, what if I had been there? You know, people really love Men at Large. We didn't have the success as a lot of the other groups, but the industry people, they loved us. What if I had been there and had hung out and blah, blah, blah? What if I had been in Vegas? And you're like, damn, 23?
That's crazy. So with all of the deaths and everything that was going on, especially you losing your mom, how did that affect you in your career?
Well, it didn't help that I was constantly reminded of it all the time with that damn record. That's one of the songs that I really hate because I'm vain, man. I'm a Leo. I'm very vain. I'm stuck on myself. I love myself. I feel like from here up, I'm a 10. Everything else is a question. You label that.
You so crazy.
I've worked really hard on my vocals to get them where they are now. Like, I'm a singing son of a gun right now. And that song, it was so hard for me to try to deliver anything because I was so emotionally distraught. It was like all I could think about was my mom. Like, every note you hear, I'm crying. It's like it started off, and then the fact I was frustrated because I wasn't. I was. We were together.
Oh, that crying voice.
And it's like, yo, they was like, man, we felt that. It's like, but you know what I learned in going through the industry is not always about how perfect you hit a note, but it's about the feeling. Mm-hmm. It's like Mary J. Blige is definitely not a great singer, but the emotion that she puts in her song is like, man, we can feel you crying, we can feel your pain. I said, yeah, nigga, I was hurting, I was crying. And, you know, that shit tore me up. It really did doing that song. But then, like I said, I didn't really recognize it or understand it until Pac and Biggie got murdered. Because, you know, you think, oh, well, my mom was only 38 when she passed away. And for years, I was like, when I would be like having lightweight panic attacks because I was like, because I read, like, you read the paper and it says, well, if your mom or your dad dies from heart issues, you know, you're 10 times more than likely to have the same issues. I'm fat, but I'm pretty healthy, honestly. I really am. I don't put a lot of junk in my body. I've given up soda, candy. Now, I just started back eating potato chips and stuff like that. Because
potatoes be addictive. I can't help it.
Especially the generic brand. The generic brands be the best. Like Lay's, I fuck with them, you know, the $3, $4, $5 bag. But I get, you know, the $1-something bags from Kroger, and they be good. The Wavy Ruffles.
So I can't even get the $1 bag. I need a $3 bag. I need the big bag. Yeah.
It's a $1 bag, trust me. You ain't gonna be mad. The flavor's better. They probably put something on there for the hood niggas to, you know, make it taste better. But it's been traumatic, but the shit didn't stop.
So now, when your mom passed away, did you go and talk to her in the hospital? Did you visit her at the grave? Like, how did you get that closure from losing your mother?
I still haven't gotten closure. My therapist told me, you still haven't mourned your mother yet. And it's been 31 years. I stopped and now I'm back in therapy again. They said, you still haven't mourned your mother. It's hard to mourn someone when shit keeps happening over and over and over again. It's like, for me, it seems like I don't get a break from that shit.
And so when you say shit keep happening over and over again, discuss some of the things that you dealt with after you lost your mom.
I know I definitely dealt with relationship anxiety of really securing and settling down with a woman. And I probably hurt some women. But the one thing about me, I never was a dog. But I did have sex a lot. I did.
So, hold up. I just want to get into it and make sure I really understand this relationship anxiety and having sex a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I have sex a lot.
So you had sex a lot. Was it in a relationship or you were just one of those that got around a lot?
And we talked about this earlier. I said it's always best to give the woman an option. Whether you're married, single, don't want to be in a relationship, you just want to do this. It's always good to be honest because 9 times out of 10, she's going to make the choice to do whatever she want to do anyway. Mm-hmm. When you walked in the joint, she already decided if she want to give you something or even give you her number from the smallest thing to inkling to the top of it. She's already decided that. So there's nothing you could do to force it unless you take it. And then you're a bastard. But I always was like, I would get with somebody and be like, man, I tell my dudes, man, I love her. They'd be like, word? I'd be like, yeah, man, I love her. And then it would be over. Because it seemed like every time something got smooth or it felt good or it felt, like it was supposed to be, I would pull away.
Why, though? Why do you think you are like that?
Because I laid on my mom's breast till I was 19.
Oh, so you spoiled.
I guess, you know what?
You spoiled.
I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled, but I earned it. Like, my mom didn't coddle me. She whooped my ass. I remember I was in 10th grade one time, and I told her that I cut school because people was talking about me. Shit, that ain't what nobody talking about me, really. I just didn't want to go to school, and I was hanging out. And one day, I was the only one who cut school and didn't have a legitimate excuse. My boy was sick. His boy was sick. They must have been kissing, now that I think back. And they was at home, and I'm like, I cut school, too. They was like, yeah, man, I ain't going. I was like, well, F it, I ain't going either. And I would go, it don't look like it, but I used to go to this gym and work out. It used to call the back wall, was turned into Bally's later in Cleveland and Beechwood. And so what I didn't know is the teachers called everybody's parents because we was always cutting together. And it was a class called Think. You need a class called, everybody need a class now, right? So the teacher, because she knew we all hung together, she called, and I was the only one that didn't have a legitimate excuse. And so I ended up going over my home. I was at my homeboy house anyway because we was practicing for this talent show. And I was like, she called. She was like, where was you at today? And I was like, huh? You heard what I said? Where was you at today? I was like, huh? That's all right. Don't go nowhere. Stay your ass there. I'll be there in a minute. Mm. I go, and my boy's mom was like, everything all right? I was like, I don't know. So I go outside, and she was like, don't fucking move. And I'm standing there like this. She's like, bring your ass here. I'm like, what you want me to do? I start walking down the steps, and she started wailing on me. From that point on, with me and women, I always told them, I said, you the dealer. We're going to play the cards. This was a cop-out. We're going to play the cards how they dealt. I'm not really looking to put a title on nothing, but whatever happens, happens.
So now, okay, my question is, and I know a lot of people got this question, is when you was out on the road and you was, doing your shows and stuff, were you in a committed relationship while you were out there, enjoying life? Or was you actually a single man enjoying life? So
this liquor's giving me gas over here.
Let loose.
I'm going to clean my cola. Yeah, I called your name if your name is... So, when I first got on the road, I met this lady from Jersey. And she saved me. She helped me get through my mom because she had lost her mom at 14. She had a little son. She was in Ohio going to college. She had graduated. She was in finance. She was making bread. And we started being friends, and we ended up getting together.
Okay.
We was together off and on for like 11, 12 years. And,
wow.
Yeah, when I get in it, I'm in it.
Okay.
But when
committed, faithful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking.
But when I went on that road, I was young, man. I was like 19, 20,
And I know when
21.
you young like that, you start to get the big head, especially when people are like, "Oh, he gets high."
And you come from being like honestly, I always had girls because like when I was 15, I was on the radio in Cleveland. That's how I started off. My uncle, like I said, was like my dad.
So you low key had a big head.
Man, nah, it ain't that big. It's all right. I'm just saying. And girls had already liked me anyway because I was a celebrity like at 15, you know what I mean? So I was used to it. And so when I went on the road, it was different because like we traveling to different states, different cities, seeing different women. And we come from a time where people didn't really like big boys. They didn't really like them like that. I mean, you had Heavy D, he started off, but he was rapping. But two big dudes that was singing.
Y'all was still getting to the money, though.
Like rapping and singing is two different. I learned about vibrations. It's two different vibrations totally.
But a singing ass nigga, trust and believe. Females looking at that like, okay, he know how to please.
Yeah, that WAP. You get that WAP running. You get that WAP running.
So with that being said, while you was out there on the road, you was out there with a lot on. And now, so while you was out there, were you in a relationship or did you have situationships or were you in relationships?
Can I plead the fifth? No,
you can plead the fifth. You can plead the fifth, but everybody know plead the fifth means you guilty.
I was out there running it. Like, real talk, I was running up numbers. You know what I'm saying? I was protected, though, but I was running up numbers. I was, man. Shit. You go in the city, and there's some badass chicks. It's like everybody want war stories. Everybody want, but I never was the one to really, like, talk about my stuff. They'd be like, you smash? I'd be like, yeah. Well, and I'd be like, nah, I'm good. Or it would be some that I would talk about, but, like, yeah, I was in a relationship with a couple people when I left.
Okay.
I mean, when I look.
Look, tell me.
When I look, all right, Blopra, Black Oprah. When I look at it, man, it's like one of my young homeboys. He knew better, but he was sleeping with one of my older homeboys' wife. But it's like you mad at him, but you understand because it's like a kid on Christmas. Every city, it's a new toy on Christmas Day, something that you always wanted, something that you never really had, and then you get it, and oh, God.
But see, when you going through a whole bunch of toys, like I know with my kids, when I buy them toys
you
for
get
Christmas,
tired of the money.
After a couple weeks, they be tired of that toy, and they be ready to move on to the next one.
That's how you go city to city.
So
toy.
you move from city to city, moving from toy to toy, which means you're not getting that real companionship. You're not really getting that real love that you need. You just getting a jump off real quick for the moment.
Let me tell you though, I fell in love with a couple girls on the road from one-night situations.
They would jump off.
My thing was, I never was like, for me, because I seen so much stuff, I never was the type of dude to smash a chick and then never talk to her again. I would keep in touch with all of them and be talking and calling and be cool with them. And from that, I was a girl out of Flint, Michigan. She passed away some years ago from cancer, but we supposedly had a baby, and the baby came out. I swear the baby looked just like me. His name is David Tolliver Jr. I went to Michigan, took a test, and it came back negative. And she thought that I had sent somebody to take the test at this government agency. There was no way, because you have to have your license. You have to have all this stuff. And I drove up there and did that, but I still was sending stuff off. And
so you was dealing with stuff like that too. Hold up. I didn't even know you was dealing with the girls coming in saying that you might be the father of their child type stuff. And was all of them?
DNA
none of them was
test.
yours? Mm-mm. So how did that affect you and everything that you had going on in life?
It fucked me up. It fucked me up because I'm a family man, and my wife called me Captain Save-A-Ho because I just don't necessarily believe because she did that with me that night that she did it with everybody. I just don't. And some of the ones that I had a DNA test with were chicks that were in the city, you know what I'm saying, where I lived and close by, but people still deemed them as groupies. But I just never thought of them like that. I really didn't. I never thought of chicks. You could call me crazy or stupid or whatever you want, but I never looked at chicks like that.
You went into every situation, every paternity test like, this gonna be my baby.
Nah, y'all looking at me. They looking at me like I'm stupid. Now I'm not boo-boo the fool. I mean, like, listen, it was normally after the baby was born. I'm just not that dude that says, you know I'm pregnant. Well, it ain't mine, bitch. Click. I never been that guy.
So you was like, let's see what we can do.
Let's check it out. Let's do. I never would. Because I'm saying I seen this stuff with my aunts, with my cousins, with my sister, 5 kids, and these sorry baby fathers. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to be that dude. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to be that guy. I never did. And, you know, man, there's been a couple of times where I had a rubber on the whole time and my body never touched nothing. And they was like, pregnant.
Oh, wow. But you were a singer. Like, you was out here in the industry. You was getting to the money, so they was trying to get to the bag.
They was getting to they wasn't getting to this bag. I tell you,
they was trying to get
the
to
only
the
bag they was getting was this. This is their bag right here. This the only bag they was getting to.
So through all that, you know, touring, you know, working with some big names, becoming a big name, and you know, going through everything that you went through in life, and then when did things take a turn for you, like with the group?
Well, we were in L.A. We were filming this song called Let's Talk About It. And, you know, things just started being different. You know, my partner was not now a co-pilot, but a pilot himself. You dig what I'm saying? He was a man with his own money, had his own car. He ain't had to ride with me or this, that, use my clothes, this stuff like that. He was his own man. And so things started to make a turn for the difference. So we were out in L.A., and if you know the Let's Talk About It video by Minute Large, it was about 20 girls and just me and him in the video. And they had on like these little short skirts with the matching panty joints on. So we was getting ready to pick and choose.
Oh, gosh.
So during this time, I smoked hella greens. I mean, you talking about wake and bake. We used to smoke blunt after blunt after blunt after blunt after blunt till you smoke so much you ain't even high. You wake up and like... You know what I mean? I had to quit that. And so we in the trailer. Hype Williams, one of the most popular, one of the greatest video directors ever. We were one of his first guys doing a video. And we was in the trailer. We getting high as a helicopter, high as a giraffe's ass, high as the Space Needle downtown here in Atlanta. And I remember the girls were sitting there and they was enjoying everything. As we was clowning, we was singing. We was geared up. We was fresh, the barber chain, you know, everything. And they was like this. With you see everything out. I passed the nigga the blunt. He like, and God said that in the middle of the wheel, that Jesus would come down and talk about this and that. And he said that if you just look to the light. I'm like,
wow. Look, I'm going to have to stop him there because I feel like things about to get
I was
deep.
like, nigga.
Things about to change. You know, I want to hear about that transition with the group. I want to, you know, transition into, you know, what's been going on in Dave's life in the last couple of years, the last couple of months, last couple of days.
Trying to get to the hurt.
Transition into, you know, where he is now, where he intends to go in life. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Go to the bathroom, get your water, do whatever you need to do, and make yourself back to your couch or to your floor, wherever you may be sitting. To make sure you keep tuning in to Front and Bottom to the Top with your girl, Princess with the Real. You are back to Front and Bottom to the Top with your girl, Princess with the Real. And I got Dave Tolliver in the building, and y'all see Blissfully Drunk Cocktails in the building. I want to get right back into this story. We went from you being kind of like a playboy, you know, bouncing around.
Playboy.
We went from that scene of you bouncing around, dealing with a lot of deaths. You know, and after, you know, your career was at its heights, you know, how did things start to transition for you as a man, as a person, as a father?
Oh, man. They didn't. No, I'm joking. Things started moving. You know, like I said, we were at the breakup with me and Jason, and it really wasn't a breakup. It was an amicable split. You know, we had been together for so long. My mom and his mom were best friends for 30 years before my mom passed away. And when he started doing that sermon and all that other stuff and this, that, and the third, the lights went up, the smoke cleared, the chicks closed their legs, pulled the skirts down, and I walked up and I said, man, this is the last record we're going to do. And it was until now. And so, I don't know, I just started thinking about myself. You know, even though we did another video and another single, the album did fairly well, probably did over 500,000 units. And I just started thinking more of myself. Like, I was a hip-hop dude. Like, I wanted to rap, man. Like, I've been rapping just since rapping was rapping. And, you know, when I started off in radio, I was working with a guy named MC Chill. So I wanted to do that. But I was, I don't like calling it Playboy. I just like multiplicity. But I was always up front with the chicks, telling them, you know, blah, 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 blah. But I did end up, I know them times with a rubber and nobody ever touched. And to this day, I'm still paying for that. But I don't even want to talk about it. DNA test said negative, but the court said still pay.
Oh, wow.
But I had a girl I fell in love with.
You probably love with a lot of them, though.
Nah. I guarantee you, if I wasn't with the woman I'm with now for the last 18 years, then it probably would have been only 2 others.
That had an option to get that settled out.
And it was one of them. I just felt like that was the one I was with before her. I just felt like I couldn't marry her because I always jumped off the bridge, and she's like, oh,
you going too far?
Right, and I jumped. Like, come on, let's go. And she like,
oh, shit.
No. You know what I'm saying? I always was there. I remember one time her baby's dad jumped on her, and I jumped on the plane to Philly, and like, I'm going to do something street, dude. I go by myself. I'm a celebrity at the time. We walking through the mall. He called and said, yeah, I seen you and your man in the mall. You know, I could have did something, but I just held it down. And then he apologized to her or whatever, and he never bothered her no more. But then there was another girl, another lady that I found out later that she was pregnant by me, and we were in a relationship, and there was a guy that I was working with at a radio station. It was his daughter. He was like, stay away from my daughter, but it was just inevitable. Wow. And we ended up falling in love, and All-Star Weekend was in Cleveland one year. I was out at the club, and the girl whose baby I was supposed to have, which turned out not to be mine, she was there. She was cool with my sisters and them. The event is over. We over on the other side. I know the club owner, so we still in there drinking, and she starts dancing on me. There's nothing going on. As soon as she starts dancing on me, the girl I'm crazy about walks in, sees it, leaves, goes home, gets rid of the baby. Yeah, man.
Oh, wow. And how did that affect you?
It tore me up. I don't play with that. Like, I believe in it. It's a woman's choice, but I was a dude that was always like, what do you want to do so that we can make this situation better? I never was like, it ain't mine. I would never do that because I always honor my mother. I love my cousin, my female cousins, my sister. I seen them go through so much stuff, and I never wanted to be the guy that caused anybody those type of problems. And so, you know, time went on.
So what I'm hearing, you know, through everything is
relationship anxiety.
You was a playboy. You got around.
Playboy Cardi.
You got around a lot until you decided to settle down. Once you started to settle down and you started to have kids and you started to build your family, of course, at this point, the group had, you know, went their separate ways. You were working on other things. I know that you were doing acting and stuff like that. After
we separated, I got another guy, my man Edgar Gemini Porter. Here we go. And I met him in Chicago. We were doing a show. This was the first time we were doing So Alone, and he was doing security. I can't stand your ass. We were doing security, and he was doing security. And I said, what up, big man, you sing? Because he was singing. Not knowing that later on this was a setup. And Brandy at the time was opening for us, figure that. And this is the first time we were doing So Alone. It was a club called the Riviera. Cliff Levingston was a big-time basketball player for the Bulls, and it was his club. And I said, you know our stuff? And he said, yeah. So I was like, well, can you do Gerald's part? Because Gerald wasn't going to be there that night. And we came back, long story short. We came back, Brandy went on, we came on, we did So Alone. He came out, and the audience went crazy.
Oh, wow.
They went crazy like if Gerald was there. And
so y'all brought him into the fold to do that, and
he murdered it. So at the after party, it was at a place called, I don't know why I remember this so vividly, but it was a place called Da Vinci Manor in Chicago, and Bishop Don Juan, and all the pimps you see on Pimps Up, Hoes Down were at this place. They were there, you know. And we was talking to Bishop Juan. He loving him in at large. And I told Gemini, I said, man, look, if something come up, I got you. I don't have nothing right now, but something come up, I got you. Who would have known 4 years later, I would have to call him to come take Jason's place. And he came and he joined the group, and he was with me since like 96, 97. And then he just passed away, what's today? Whatever today is, 2 weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago, he passed away from complications of COVID. And
So how did that affect you?
And I'm still numb from that shit, man.
Like, talk about some of the memories that you've had with him, some of those moments that, like, you will never forget that you and him shared together, and how you intend to move forward, losing somebody that was so close to you.
I'm not gonna give them to you.
Look, just let it all flow. Let it all flow.
I remember the very first show we had together was a show where we had like 2 shows in one day. It was really in 3-4 shows that weekend. We had to be in West Virginia at like 7:30 that night. We had to be in Jacksonville, Florida at like 2 p.m. that day. So I remember Jason, we got into an argument about he didn't want to take the road manager, this and that. I'm like, dude, we do a different show every time we perform. Who gonna change the DATs? At the time, DATs are these little tapes about this big. And, you know, you can't skip or whatever. You got to go all the way through, you know what I mean? So you got to do the show exactly the way it's not now with the digital stuff. The DJ can slide and go and do stuff. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to just take Gemini. I called him. He came. And I remember the very first show we did. It was at a place called Multifest in Charleston, West Virginia. And it was like 100,000 people out there. And they was going crazy. And we got to a record. And I'm singing a record called I'm Good, and I brought all the ladies on stage. They was on pillows and stuff, and he just standing there looking at me, tilted back like this on his hind leg, built it back. I'm like, the fuck are you doing, man? Like, come on, sing. He was like, yo, dude. He from Chicago, so he's like, yeah, dude. Man, I just fell in the fan mode, dude. I was just watching you, man. You do what you doing. I just fell in the fan mode, dude. I know. I said, nigga, you a star now. Come on, you got to get into it. Man, it's so many different memories.
So how did you feel when you got that call and you found out that he was no longer here with you?
I'm still in shock. I was taking my son back to school a couple of weeks ago, back to Jackson State. And, you know, I was driving back, and the crazy thing is, like, for the last 2 or 3 years, man, every time I think about somebody, they call me within 2 days. And it's like I'm not focusing on thinking about it, but when I get up and I start doing my day, it's like their face and their name, it comes to me. And I don't pick up the phone, but they'll call me. I'm like, damn, what is this? And so we were leaving out to leave, and can't stand you, man. We were leaving out to leave, and my sister passed at the end of 19. And my nephew lives with me now, and she always tests him on things, you know, because my wife's an educator. And she said, do you know who Medgar Evers is? And he said, no. And, you know, she said the airport there is named after Medgar Evers. And I forgot the name of the bridge in Selma where they marched across. We drove past there. We took pictures and different stuff like that. And I said, man, that's funny. Like, I had felt something was going on with him. And because the last time I talked to him was before the election. And I told him, I said, I love you, man. I miss you. And I said, what I'm doing now with Jason, which is my original partner, I said, this is business. I said, you've been a brother to me more than him or anybody else. Most of my cats have been. I said, I love you and I miss you. And he said, yeah, dude, I love you and I miss you too, man. I understand. I know it's good. And he started to tell me about what's good. He always had some fires he had to put out at home. He was telling me about, it was a house him and his wife were renting, and the owners found out that he was a Biden and Harris supporter. And when they found out, they wanted them to move out immediately. He started crying. And he was like, dude. He always saying, dude. He's like, man, I'm so tired, dude. I'm tired of all this shit, dude. And so I prayed with him, and that was the last time I talked to him. And so what's crazy, so ironic, is that last time I talked to Gerald Levert, to my brother too, he the last words he said to me was, dude, he was like, man, I'm tired, man. I'm tired of all this shit. And then 2 weeks later, he passed away. So it's like 2 months later, after he tell me he tired of all this shit, he passes away. I'm just like, that shit fucked me up. It's like right now, and it's still early. Like, I don't know when this is gonna run. It just feels like, honestly, I've seen so much death. I've seen so much hurt from my injury, from a surgery, to all these deaths that I have. It's like, you know, people say, yeah, especially now I say, man, I've had 5 deaths. Like, me and my wife had an accident at the end of 2019 that the insurance people was like, damn, I don't know how y'all walked away from that, because when they looked at my seats and how they looked, they was like, I've never seen anything like this in 22 years of working in insurance, and some people walking away from it. Then 3 weeks later, my sister dies. Then today, which is pretty much 3 weeks after that, a year later, anybody that's a friend of mine over 20 years is my brother. My brother dies. Then you come towards the end of the year, and it's of 20, and it's Ecstasy from Houdini. That was my dude. I ended up singing all the songs at his funeral. Then a couple days after that, Buddy Banks from the Rude Boys, who was one of my biggest cheerleaders, man. You know, we were all in the Gerald Levert camp. He dies from COVID. And then 2 Sundays ago, my bro, man, I've been touring the world with, well, basically here for the last 25 years, he dies from COVID. You know what I mean? It's
So knowing, you know, all of this is going on, you know, losing the people that are close to you during COVID or whatever it may be that you losing them to, how is that affecting you as a man? And especially, you know, at your age, and seeing that some of these people that are passing away are your age, you know, younger than you, how is that affecting you?
Well, I feel like a house fell on me, but I can't feel it, but I know that I'm hurt. But this Men at Large album I'm doing now with my original partner, I felt like it was necessary for legacy. It's like, and after this, I'm closing the chapter. I'm doing anything for Men at Large, because even though my replacement partner wasn't part of it, like he here, my original partner's here now, and like I don't want to do shit. Like I don't want to go to the studio. I don't want to do the photo shoot we got to do Monday. I don't want to do none of that shit. Like I don't want to do it. But it's like I gotta close off this chapter. And I feel like we got enough songs, but we gotta finish, and we gotta take pictures. And after this, like, you know, whatever happens with the record, and I'm assuming it's probably gonna do pretty decent as far as like the way independent record goes. I'm never doing anything else Men at Large, because my plan for the last 3 or 4 years, I've just been seeing so many people pass away and still not fulfilling their lifetime dreams. Shit, I fulfilled 4 or 5 of them, but I'm still not satisfied. And I have my daughter, who is, man, she'll sing me under the table. My son he's rapping. He raps like the rest of the guys, but man, he puts his words together so good. And now he doing a little singing stuff like, what's the little young bull that was with Nipsey Hussle on the song or whatever? And I'm in it for the
Oh, yeah.
He don't do it like that, but it's something to that effect. And
So going through your career, so going through your career and the things that you've been through, watching your kids transition into, you know, the industry of the things that they want to do in life, you know, working on this new album with your bandmate.
And I'm doing Southern Soul. Like I'm doing, you know, Southern Soul is like R&B mixed with blues. You can check out Calvin Richardson, Sir Charles, Pokey, Big Rob, and now Dave Tolliver, because I'm coming for that ass. You tell him I'm coming for that ass. Coming for that ass. My single is out right now, Love Like This, and it's charting. right now. You know what I mean? So I know I'm headed down the right path. You know what I mean?
So through everything that you've been through, you know, all the trials and tribulations that you've had to deal with, and, you know, the recent passing of your bandmate, you know, if you had to leave the people with something, what would you leave them with?
A naked picture of you. No, I'm joking. What would I leave? Talking about you, not me. Man, no matter how many times you get turned down in life, keep going. Because I believe that one man's junk is another man's treasure. You know, for these artists out here, you know, thinking they're really doing something, I say, be you. Be you, who you are for real. Don't be who 42 Doug is. Don't be who Lil Baby is. Don't be who Future is. Don't be who Polo G is. Don't be who none of these cats are. Don't be Ariana Grande. Don't be any of them.
Be you.
Be you. Because the truth of the matter is, we all have to drive on the same freeway, but we don't have to drive the same car. Don't be afraid to stick out like a bump on a light-skinned dude's face. Seriously. Like if it was right here on my face right now and I had no mustache, don't be afraid to stick out like that. Look at, we were just watching this video. This is America. This is America. He's different. Mm-hmm. And it worked for him. You know, in our day, we didn't want to be like anybody. We wanted to be ourselves. And I say, don't let nobody tell you no, especially you believe in you and you feel and you know as you study the laws of attraction. Because that shit is real.
Y'all heard it. Like, what Dave is saying is real stuff to live by in life. Like, be you. Don't be out here fronting trying to be somebody you're not, something you're not. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Don't try to do things that you feel like people just going to gravitate to because you doing it. Because you feel like that's what's going to get you popping.
Word up.
Do you. Be you. That's how you going to, you know.
And like she said earlier, do a contract. Stand by the contract.
Up front. Yeah.
Up front. I'll watch you. I'll watch you. I'm a fan. You already know.
Upfront contracts is very important. You got to make sure everything is clear up front. And so what Dave is saying is he's been transitioning his life to go into the things that he wants to do in life. You know, he want to make sure he fulfill his dreams with everything that's going on in the look, he going to fulfill them dreams with everything that's going on in the world, you know, with all of the losses that he's had. He's continuing to move forward. He's continuing to go strong. He's continuing to give it his all. So on that note, I want people to continue to follow you and watch your journey and everything that you have going on. So let them know how they can find you, all the different platforms where your music at, all of the above.
They can find me at Joe House later. No, hey, you can find me on all the DSPs. Why do everybody abbreviate everything now? The DM. First, I was like, what the hell is a DSP? On all the digital streaming platforms, all of them. Spotify, YouTube. Go there first. Those are the monetized. But I'm everywhere. That new single is streaming right now and it's playing on the radio. Co-requested Love Like This by Dave Tolliver. On Instagram and Twitter, I'm Dave Men at Large. Same thing in Clubhouse for those of you privileged enough to be in Clubhouse. Dave Men at Large or Dave Tolliver. On Facebook, I know people like, that's old. Dave Tolliver. I mean, I'm 50, so I'm on there too. Dave Tolliver. Go ahead and check me out on Facebook. And I'm everywhere. And if you can't find me, just Dave Tolliver, Black Pavarotti, you know, Fat Sexy. PHAT.
Look, y'all heard it. Y'all know where to find him
and she know.
Y'all go look him up. I'm already on his platform, so y'all go look him up. Make sure you continue to tune in to Front to Bottom to the Top with your girl, Princess With The Real, week after week. We will have another amazing episode next week. Continue to tune in. I'll see you later.
I done been down before. I had to get up and get it together. Knew one day it would be better.